Welcome to Kerusi Panas, Sabah. This is episode 6. I'm delighted to continue the conversation, and I waited after nomination day to continue this discussion. So many candidates in this episode. Episode 6 looks at Sabah's northern frontier. This is a place of tremendous dynamism and change. It is a place also of importance for Sabah's identity and politics, where political fortunes have been made and lost. The center of the northern region is in Mount Kinabalu. This region, which extends from Kudat to Ranau, is extraordinarily fascinating and diverse and very beautiful. Mount Kinabalu as a mountain stands tall in defining what Sabah is about, her strength. Mount Kinabalu comes from the Kundasang word Aki Nabalu, meaning the revered place of the dead. This sense of reverence is extremely important because this is a place of high sensitivities and important significance for Sabah. There are many stories about this mountain. The one that is most known is Chinabalu. China translates into the words Chinese widow. The legend tells the story of a Chinese prince who ascends from the mountain in search of a huge pearl guarded by a ferocious dragon. He marries a Kundasang woman upon his successful conquest, who he soon abandons to return to China. His heartbroken wife wanders into the mountain to mourn, where eventually she turns to stone. These questions about abandonment, but at the same time strength and conquest, are very much at the core of Sabah's northern frontier politics. This is a place where we've seen in recent history the emergence of new political warlords, those connected to the Bahanda family, and particularly to the rise of the political fortunes of Party KDN. These will matter in the hot seats that we're going to look at in the RN17. There are 3 issues that I'd like to highlight about the politics of Sabah that resonate in this northern frontier. And that is a dynamic between social capital and money capital. Different types of capital, but there is this perception that the votes in the northern frontier are just those that are bought. And no question, parties that have money and candidates that have money have an advantage. What's happening is that they're paying for transportation, for the cost of people to be able to come out to vote in many cases, places like Bangi. But also, they're basically reinforcing the sense that they can provide assistance, reinforcing the sense that they are people with positions of power.
Money capital
becomes important. Equally important is social capital, the connections of individuals into their networks, who they are in the community, be it in their church, be it in their mosque, be it in their community organization. Personal politics are connected as everyone in families all know each other in these constituencies. Then there is how people feel about this issue of capital, or the lack of capital that has come to the northern frontier. The sense that the roads are not functioning, the sense that there is a lack of development. The questions of how capital in different forms really matter in the northern frontier. And what's interesting is that there is this sense of abandonment, the sense that this place has not been given its due. While it's revered, it has not been revered in terms of the development process. These legacy issues are so pronounced in places like Pitas and others. Candidates who come in who promise the development can capitalize on these underlying sentiments while looking for security, recognizing the issues of those who have capital. There's also the sense of challenging that, the two-car sentiment against the incumbency, is the role of KDM as a party that has emerged in politics in the last few years. The Bahanda family is participating in different roles as an independent candidate in different parties, but KDM party is still associated with them, and they have many different candidates, and they have a lot of money compared to others. Of course, people are asking, where did that money come from? What are the issues associated with those funds? But those resources will matter because of the nature about capital in this northern frontier. A second broad rubric is the focus on ethnicity. In an earlier episode, I talked about the subgroups and the different types of Muslims and how identities are very complex. Here in the northern part of Sabah, we have, in many ways, a heartland of the KDM R communities. And the R stands for the Rungus community that matters so much in seats like Tanjong Kapor, Batunggung. They're a community that has strong cultural traditions, a sense of pride. There's been ethnic nationalism that the Bahanda family has been able to tap into and building their strength and their awareness for the community. And that has become very salient. In many other parts of the northern frontier, there are lots of different types of Dusun communities. Dusun that also have their own languages and their own identities. There are over 300 different ethnic identities in Sabah. Among the Dusuns, there are over 70, and many of them are concentrated here. I'll come to other parts of Sabah where they are as well, but it's useful to recognize that subgroup identities help to explain not only the fragmentation, but also how the social capital that people are connected into. They matter because people tap into those sentiments through their networks.
The main groups among the Dusun in Kundasang and Karanaan are the Dusun Bundu, Liwan, and Tanagas. In Paginatan, the main groups are Lobu and Tompizos.
Part of that ethnic complexity is this part of Sabah is where religious sensitivities are quite acute. It's interesting because, like many in Sabah, you have families that have both Muslim and Christian voters. The relations among the communities are extremely cordial. But politically, there's also a dynamic of recognition of change. Given that this place has been of tremendous reverence and it's been tied into Christian identity in Sabah, many places for spiritual Christian retreats, we see a situation where the changing composition of the electorate, where a rise of Muslims, people changing their faith, has had an impact on some of these constituencies. It adds in to how people see themselves and how they vote in terms of looking at Muslim or non-Muslim candidates. Also contributes to the competitiveness that we see. Finally is the issue of splitting
and swarming.
Splitting itself means that their vote is very fragmented. No one really wins the majority, so it's a question if they can win a plurality. They can get past the post. How do they do that? These combination of money, social networks, building on ethnic identities are part of that. But it's also more candidates coming into the fray, making the competition even more competitive. And we can see that the splitting
and swarming
dynamic is going to be very profound. What it does, it also gives parties that are smaller more of a chance. And we'll see this in the 5 hot seats that we're looking at. The hot seats that I'm going to look at are Bengkoka, Tanjong Kapor, Bandau, Kundasang, and Paginatan. All fascinating, wonderful places that you should come and visit, engage with. Into Bengkoka is largely a contest between Barisan Nasional and PBS versus Star, among the 11 candidates that are contesting. The BN candidate is the incumbent, Harun Durabi, who was a headmaster, very much important part of the Hajiji government, even though he was Barisan Nasional member. We've seen some modest changes in Bengkoka. His main contender is a man called
Dr. Samuel Mobin, who is a veterinarian from PBS. The third major contender among these 11 candidates is a man called Macla Marcial, who is a teacher representing STAR. Both Samuel and Macklin have contested before, so these are all known names in this constituency. So it's going to be about how they mobilize. Warasan is being contested by Fauzia Fuad Stevens, a very prominent name from a prominent political family, the daughter of former chief minister, important one in Sabah's history. At the same time, Warasan faces a challenge among Dusun and Rungus voters. Warasan, however, does have support among many Muslim voters in this constituency that is quite fragmented. So we'll see how this plays on the ground. Machinery, money will be important in helping to shape the result, as well as tapping into the social capital of different networks. In Tanjong Kapor, which is at the center of Kudat, this is going to be a test of the Bahanda family's power. The incumbent is a man called Ben Chong, who was formerly in Warasan and jumped over to GRS. He is being supported in a contest essentially won between GRS, Warasan, and the independent, a man called Verden Bahanda, one of the brothers of the Bahanda family, seen to be wealthy but also tapping into that Rungus ethnic sentiment. Warasan's candidate is a man called Terence Al, a local from Kudat, who is tapping into the sentiment of change. Warasan has had its fortunes strongly in Kudat in the past, so it is a player. Also contesting are other parties such as MCA, Kevin Lee, and others, but these parties don't have the same base in Sabah politics as these individuals who are able to use this combination, a cocktail of money, resources, identity mobilization, and the powers of incumbency. Both the Bahanda and the GRS candidate tap into, although GRS is Ben Chong is the candidate on the ground. We'll be looking at the Chinese vote here, we'll be looking at the Rungus vote, and the votes of many of the Bajau in this seat. We'll also be looking at how the campaign narrative evolves in this constituency. N6 Bandau, fascinating place. There are 13 candidates running here. This is an open seat. Now, this is a seat that embodies the politics of the deals that went wrong. The candidate that is favored is from PGRS, supported by another Bahanda name, Rodona Bahanda. She was supposed to get the seat through the deal between PH and GRS, but Pakatan Harapan and many other parties have broken their deals. PKR's Zaidi Jatil, who has been on the ground for some time, even before the deals were consolidated. We've seen Warasan's Rizam Abdul Rahman. He's a medical officer, while UPCOS is fielding a businesswoman, Suzy Salapan, who is part of the Sabah First momentum that UPCO is trying to build. Not to be left out is Star Sherwin Patrick from a political family. Importantly, another independent person who was part of PGRS but was not given the seat, Nigel Mahap. Also a long-standing, well-known name in the area of Bandau. Open seat where the splitting and swarming dynamic, giving everyone a chance, will play an important role. Bandau is close to Kota Marudu. Kota Marudu has seen quite a lot of development compared to the past, but it still has a long way to go. The towns are one thing, but when you go into the remote areas, this is where you really see the problems associated with economic development, roads, and other places. Further east are the two other seats that I'd like to speak about, N36 and Kundasang. There are 10 contenders. There's a powerful incumbent for PBS, Dr. Joachim Gunsalam. He's next to another powerful incumbent in Karanaan, Masidi Manjun, who's likely to win his seat, but is to lose some support because there's more competition this election. But in Kundasang, Dr. Joachim now faces a more fierce battle. He's still favored,
The candidate that is the most likely to challenge him is a candidate from KDM. Jeffrey Ali has the most flags, been working the ground for some time. Not to be left out completely, although having a real uphill battle with SAPP Chaparral Suhaimi, but it is an interesting feature. Jackson Musi is also aligned to PBS individuals, and we could see internal party dynamics coming at play. He's running as an independent. Fascinating type of situation. Kundasang is a seat where religious sentiments matter. It's interesting because Kundasang is such an important pivotal tourist point for Sabah, but the town itself is lacking development comparatively to other places. Even Kotamrudu would argue is more dynamic than what we're seeing. This contest has become very open. PBS is favored. They have additional resources. Let us see if that can be challenged by the sentiments for change and transformation that is going on. People wanting different types of leadership. Voters I speak to in Kundasang support very different parties, but there is a sense that they want more. When you go to Paginatan, you go through Ranau, and Ranau is this very vibrant town. All the different seats of Kundasang, Paginatan, and all of them have their flags and their dynamism. Quite an interesting place to have conversations for the area. In this seat, the lead contenders are a man called Abidin Matinkir, who is representing PGRS, again, a hopper, moved from Star to PGRS, didn't stay with Star, so Star has fielded this candidate. I think he'll have a hard time. This man called Fredlin Tulang. The person I'm watching is a man, KDM Rustin Riman. He comes from a very important village in Paginatan, Lohan. It's very interesting about Sabah politics is that many of the politicians and candidates come from the same villages, and many villages have a lot of political history. Lohan is one of those areas. This is a seat where there's a chance for some of the smaller candidates like Rebecca Caballo and Ivan Benedict, not to be confused with Iwan Benedict, because of the splitting of the vote, and because of the mobilization of social capital, the ties to religious faith, the differences, that this seat becomes much more open than the numbers would suggest. But at this particular juncture, it is largely still a KDM GRS contest. Things are likely to evolve as people build on their personal networks. This sentiment of change, the sentiment of abandonment, the sentiment of strength, the sentiment of conquest, are all defining features of the northern frontier, very dynamic region. As is always, I strongly urge my listeners to come and visit these areas, to see the people, to see the nature, the beauty of this place. There's nothing like waking up to a sunrise at the tip of Borneo in Kudat, or to listen and watch the birds and sounds, Kundasang. It's a magical place, from Ranau to Kudat, from change to change, from beauty to beauty. Thank you very much for joining me here at Kerusi Panas, Sabah. I hope you enjoy the conversations as we continue looking at hot seats. This place may be cool in temperature in many parts, but in fact, on the ground, politically, it's extremely hot.